Hello and welcome to Accept the Moments. My name is Colton.
And my name is Josh.
And today we're going to be talking about things that people should have common sense.
It's lacking.
Yeah, it's not there.
It is lacking in today's world.
Everybody's just doomed. The trial and tribulations will come soon. Hopefully. Anyway, So yeah, today I always had, and I was reminded from my sister about this, but I've always had a harder time with basically a short fuse, where people have. I've never had a really big tolerance for common sense. I'm a very patient person, like I know you know that, but I'm not. Just whenever it comes to people that do stupid things, I tend to be like, no, you idiot. And I'm naturally a sarcastic person. And some people take that bad, some people don't. To the point where some people are kind of like, oh, you're a dick or something. You're a beep. Anyway. Trying to be family friendly for the radio. I'm sorry. We'll beep it out later.
I saw the consideration in your eyes.
It was solid consideration about it.
Anyway, yes.
So yeah, I was talking to her and she was reminding me of a story. So back in the day, whenever I was 2, obviously I don't remember a lot from this time, but so there was a time where I was sitting in class and everything was going as normal, solid 2-year-old life, chilling, eating some crackers.
Are they going to say crayons?
Yeah, that too.
Chilling, eating some crayons.
Hey, what do you take me for? I never ate crayons. Glue, on the other hand.
That stuff just stuck with me, man.
Yeah, Elmer's there's something top tier about that taste.
There was actually a kid in my class who tried to eat glue once.
What?
In 5th grade.
See, I had a problem whenever I was younger where I would just do random things as a kid and not even have no thought about it, speaking of common sense.
Oh, yeah. I had a plastic baseball bat, and I would literally, at one point, I accidentally swung it around and hit myself in the head, but it was soft enough that it almost felt like, not like a massage, but it felt nice. So there was a period of my life when I was 6 where I was walking around the house just with a plastic baseball bat just bung, 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 bung on my head. And my dad was like, what are you doing?
No, kids at that age have none. I would literally go into... So I remember hearing about this. I'd go into kindergarten, and if I just wasn't feeling it that day, I would just rip off all my clothes and start running around. I was just as free as a bird.
I love it.
They would be yelling at me, no, stop!
That's amazing.
I'd be trying to run around, catch me, I'd be giggling, running under tables.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so when you were 2 years old.
But at the same time, I was still in pre-K whenever I did that, actually. I spoke wrong. It wasn't kindergarten. But
okay, so
a little later...
It's a little better on you, then.
A little later, so kindergarten rolls around. I've matured a little bit, as much as a kindergarten-age kid matures.
Which isn't much.
So I had such an attitude back then, and I had gained just a disdain for people without common sense, because I was, for whatever reason, more developed at my age. I was reading at a 5th grade level in kindergarten, or not 5th grade, it was 2nd grade level. That's what it was. And kindergarten. So
I was the same way. I was always a few years ahead.
So I was watching I was watching the news too. I watched it a lot whenever I was a kid, and this girl and these 2 girls in my class ended up they were so annoying. And I don't remember this, but apparently it just really bothered me. Because one day I finally started talking to the teacher about it, and she wouldn't do anything. And I finally stood up all proud, and I raised my hand and I said, Miss, I don't have tolerance for stupid people. Can I please move chairs?
Oh, you did it right in front of them?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
In front of God and everybody. That's it.
In front of God and everybody.
That is a trend in my childhood. Is I wouldn't take anything out back. It wouldn't be let's solve it behind the school. I was just right there in front of everyone.
I can't tolerate stupid. Can I switch seats? Oh, if I had said one of those lines, I would have gotten beaten up.
4 or 5-year-old me had such an attitude.
Oh my lord. And did your teacher laugh?
I think
would've
she
lost-
wanted to, honestly. Because,
I would have laughed. So
obviously,
hard.
I don't remember, but like adults find that kind
Oh
of
well,
stuff
yeah,
funny.
that's true. I didn't think
But-
of that.
That could other kids probably didn't.
Oh my goodness, they probably didn't think of anything like that. The teacher probably like.
I couldn't keep my mouth shut as a kid. I was such a sarcastic asshole. Literally, I would be going around the house saying "you got mail" like an annoying jerk, and every time somebody tried to be like "stop it," I'd just be like "you got mail." You got
Go down the house. You got mail.
I literally just drove people insane yelling.
Oh
"You
my
got mail."
goodness. I don't know if I did anything to drive people insane like that. I know when I was in kindergarten in school, my only 2 years in school were kindergarten and 5th grade.
Yeah.
One time I got in trouble because I brought my Power Rangers to school, and I literally in the middle of class just got bored, and I was like, "This is slow." So we were probably learning what the color blue was, and I was just like, "This is ridiculous." And I got underneath the desk and pulled out my Power Rangers and just started playing. I wasn't distracting anybody. I was very quiet underneath the desk, and the teacher came up and was like, "You've lost recess."
That's like.
No.
So it's funny that I grew up a little bit, and then I was in elementary school, and I've never changed, by the way. I still don't have a huge tolerance for it, but in elementary school, I remember this one. We were all in a car ride, and we were riding back, and we were on a family vacation, and my sister at the time wasn't thinking about it. Like, she knew what it was, but she wasn't thinking about what it meant. And I told you that I used to watch the Weather Channel a lot. Well, I said,
You little weirdo.
that cloud above us is a cumulonimbus. And she's about 8 years older than me. And she goes, "What's that?" And I looked at her and I said, "Cumulonimbus." And she goes, "Yeah, what is it?" And I'm like, "It's a cloud." She goes, "What? It's a cloud?" And I said, "Yes, big cloud makes rain, goes boom boom." And my dad and mom, they started, my dad was trying to hold back so much laughter, and my mom was just like, "Son, you shouldn't have said that." And my sister's just like hating me.
That is amazing. I remember you telling me that story. Big cloud makes rain, go boom boom. Except if I was your sister, I would have been like, "Oh, I get it." Like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love that. That's funny.
Oh, no.
I don't think I've ever had any moments like that either, which kind of sucks. I only grew into using my words in my college years, and there weren't many situations for that. I never really had the words to smart off when I was up through high school, so...
It's just like I couldn't... It's kind of bad because I grew up not being able to control it, so if somebody starts doing like something stupid near me, I'll instantly go, "Oh, yeah?" And I'll say something that'll almost get me punched. There's actually, so at our work currently... There was a guy that had pulled in to the, he pulled into one of the spots, and he just barely tapped one of the poles. And without thinking about it, I said, barely missed it, didn't you?"
Oh, no.
He had a look of like, if you weren't in uniform, I'd punch you. He just smiled like, "Ha ha."
I can just imagine you wearing your uniform and just barely missed it, didn't you, sir?
It was such a, like, I didn't even mean it mean. I was just like, barely missed it.
Is this out when you were in the lot? Just
Yeah, I was just, I was out in the lot. I was retrieving some of the carts, and I just happened to see it. I was just like, that guy's having a rough day, and I was just trying to cheer him up, and he did not find it funny.
No. That's something that you find funny, or you should. Oh, wasn't there a story where the teacher was like, "Who's bullying you?" and you like carried a kid to the front of the class?
No. That wasn't a common sense story, but that was back in the day. Yeah, it's a story for a different time, but yeah, no, that kid was bullying me, and the teacher was just like, "Who did it?" And I ran over. And I had, this kid had been bullying me for a while, and I had walked over and said, "I'll go get him." And then I ran to the class he was in, and I picked him up by his shirt, and I grabbed him by the pants and carried him to that office, and I started shaking him in front of the teacher, going, "This is him. This is the one that did it."
I thought that was a common sense story. That's why I brought it up.
No. That was just a school bully I had. And what's funny about that is I was always the biggest kid in school. So it's funny that you mentioned, I would have got punched for saying it. I was sarcastic and I had the weight behind me. So I was never a bully. I was always like the kid that stood up for others. But
you still
nobody
like
could really.
Loner.
Yeah, I was kind of like a loner, and the thing is, nobody could really touch me though, because again, I just got lucky and was one of the biggest kids in school. So it
that was my thing. I had to lay low and make friends because I was such a skinny, scrawny little freak.
No, I was just a hard-headed. No, I was. Now, going back to kind of the common sense stuff, though, but I would just grow up, and every time I'd see something that's just like, that's stupid, and I would just straight up tell somebody. I've always had a hard head because of that. Trying to think of another one, actually.
I don't have many common sense stories because I usually keep it in.
One of my best ones, actually, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's fine.
One of my best ones is actually from our search and rescue organization.
Uh-oh.
And we had this cadet in there. And I remember this vividly. They had just moved here from South Africa, and they were leaving one of the British colonies. And this kid, so both of us used to volunteer in search and rescue. And these guys, one of the brothers was awesome, and I loved him to death. And the other one was bat crap crazy. He literally so he would go around the squad, and I was dealing with financials at the time, and he kept trying to petition that the squadron get like combat gear and that we get prepared.
That's all I needed to hear. I know who you're talking
about.
You
know who I'm talking about, because he was so vocal about it, and he got a position of power and still kept trying to petition it. And at the time, luckily, I had enough power to veto him. Because he wanted us to... So there was a few things that we had as a squadron. And so, like, Alaska Squadron had shotguns and rifles in their planes.
But it's Alaska!
So what those were meant for was... It was in case if you're going on a mission or if you're going on a operation or an op... You have the gun in there because there was a tendency for Kodiak bears to get on the runway. And Kodiak bears have a bad habit of hunting down humans.
Yeah.
So
that was literally for like
but that's all they were meant for. Yeah. So it's like bears on the runway. It's coming at us. There's no way to scare it off. You either need to shoot it or shoot near it to get it to go. And that's all they were meant for. And he was trying to petition that we get that. And he wanted us to put turrets on like planes.
What, to shoot squirrels?
And I'm like, yeah. I'm like,
that's all we have. Maybe a rabbit or two.
It's like, sir, why do you need a 50 caliber machine gun? Well, hunting squirrels.
Yeah. I want to shred the tree.
The flying rat population is just a little too much this year.
Yeah.
I need the Browning. The 22 just ain't cutting it anymore.
Legitimately insane.
Man, it was
and I hated him.
So yeah, this guy would always recommend, like, he'd just keep trying to recommend stuff. He wanted us to get like combat helmets, and he'd be like, "Oh, we need to carry machetes with us out in the field and have German shepherds." And finally, me and a few of the other guys sat him down and we're like, "Look, we are a search and rescue squadron." And he'd be like, "Yes, but we need to be prepared in case we're ever used again." And I'm just like, we were Silver Air Patrol is what we used to be in. And it was set up as a defense organization during World War II. But after World War II, I forget what it's called, but like a piece of paper was signed. Legislation, thank you. Legislation was signed. You didn't remind me of anything. Myself, my brain. Thank you, brain. Thank you, me. Anyway, so a piece of legislation that was signed said, no longer do this. You're now search and rescue only. This is all you do. If somebody goes lost, if somebody gets lost, plane goes down, people go missing, you go find them. You're not combat at all anymore. Right. It's not needed.
It's not needed anymore. Yeah.
We're not in the middle of World War II. We have the Coast Guard. 3, that's it. That's it.
We're not in the middle of World War II anymore.
Yeah,
there's no World War III yet.
Give it time. Yeah, he just wanted us to weaponize the squadron. Finally, we ended up just basically sitting him down in the meeting room, just being like, no.
I
down.
don't get why Homie wasn't an excuse to shoot people like me.
Honestly,
little like cadets that
no,
weren't-
we literally had to tell him though. We were like, look, this is a search and rescue, not search and destroy organization.
Yeah.
If you want that, join like the paratroopers or something.
Mm-hmm.
Go join the army. Don't keep trying to waste your time here.
Right. Because it was a waste of time for him and for everybody else.
This is like,
although I bet it was really entertaining because you knew it'd never get approved.
oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
There's a few times I kind of let him on. I was just like, yeah, let's petition for this. Let's get some combat helmets. Let's go. And I'd talk to other senior members, and I'd just be like, yeah, let's get some combat helmets.
And of course they looked at you like, stop encouraging this.
It was fun for me.
Yeah, I bet. that guy was the definition of lack of common sense.
Oh, dude, it was nuts. And I actually think he's doing pretty well for himself now. I mean, they were pretty wealthy. So
I heard I may be tripping, but I heard at one point, didn't he like find a lady?
Yeah, he found a lady, and I think he actually opened his own company or something.
What?
Yeah, no.
I need to look him up.
I mean, they had somewhere. That or he took over his dad's business. Either way. That was my biggest common sense story, though. It ended up being... It was just such
You can't weaponize CAP!
You're not weaponizing a search and rescue squadron.
And we didn't even do search and rescue.
Yeah,
there was no search and rescue to be done.
Well, not in our
us.
area.
Not in our area. No.
That was a different reason, though. That wasn't because of the organization. That was because of funding.
Right.
At the time,
hey, I'm just saying he was a part of our squadron, and for our squadron, it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, however you want to look at that, but for him to weaponize something that's not even happening,
it's just like, man,
that's my point.
It's there's one more. Yeah, I know, right? We work in a grocery store, and at X grocery store, unnamed. Mm-hmm. And there's so much common sense that just doesn't exist with customers and workers. And I think one of the best ones I've had recently is there's a kid that works with us that he doesn't exactly have the right moral compass whenever it comes to talking people. And
understood.
Yeah. So he's one of those, he's like the biggest basement dweller you'll probably ever meet.
Oh, great.
And I think you'll know who I'm talking about. But he basically is one of those, like, have you ever read about the closet incels that pretty much don't know how to talk to women and they think they're entitled with everything? Yeah, the kind of guy that gets high on their own farts and is like, yes, I'm the best thing to happen to women since bras. Or, it's just like I am the best thing since peanut butter. You better tell me.
I'm quoting you on that. I'm the best thing that's happened to women since peanut butter.
Since peanut butter.
I'm quoting you on that.
No, he had there was an incident that happened at work, and it's happened a little bit. It's happened long enough ago now that I feel like I can talk about it in the podcast and be okay legally. Okay. This might be a lack of common sense on my part, but so
I should grow some common sense, kid.
This kid, he literally, honestly, he was young enough that I blame it on him being young, but he was stupid in the fact that he would just start texting random girls he liked and basically start trying to get super sexual with them.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just kind of like things that you don't do. And be like, I don't know why they don't like me. Sleep with me, It's just kind of like
I don't know why he doesn't like me. Like the twinkles, like
he's literally. It's just like he's out in the bushes, just like she'll eventually fall in love with me if she'll drop this restraining order.
I've only got binoculars and a telescope pointed at her bedroom window. I don't see anything wrong with this.
I just chased her around with a boombox for 3 hours straight. That's. I
only had a lasso.
That's a real story, by the way.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Really? I thought that was just a bad example.
No, that's a separate issue, but
Oh no, that sounds like it's a current issue. Chases around with a boombox, it's just repeating, "Love me, woman."
It was a story that went around of a guy that had done that. He had chased a girl around with a boombox, trying to get basically do that old '80s trope, and
old '80s trope?
Of like showing up at their door with a boombox, being like, "Oh, take me, I love you," and pretty much it was a death metal song he had wrote instead, though. And shockingly enough, she wasn't interested, and the cops got involved.
Wow.
Plot twist, he called the cops because the dad threatened to end his life for chasing his daughter with the boombox, and the cops ended up basically
he
being
wanted to
like,
boom her box.
Well, we have to cut that. Anyway,
yeah, we probably have to cut that. Or
we can talk about that later. No, he was chasing her around with a boombox, and the cops basically were like, wait, so you were chasing her, and the dad was mad at you. No. What needs to happen here is you need to leave her alone because obviously she's not interested.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was off subject, but
back to
what's going on. Anyway, lack of common sense. No, so he was texting just random girls like, "Oh yeah, whatever, like you," and he started sending one of the girls up front just these super, super inappropriate texts.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, it was weird. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm not doing anything bad. I'm just being flirty. Meanwhile, she's just like, he's gonna be around the corner next time I turn.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, here's the thing though.
Well, the thing
there is a fun level of flirty that you can have,
but you already have to have
it's
that.
Such a low line.
No. Here's the thing. If you're gonna have a level of flirty, you need to have, at the bare minimum, some level of known...
Yeah.
You have to know the person.
You have to know the person, and it has to be reciprocal. Like, it's... That's where it can be fun, and it can just
that, or if
exist.
It's not reciprocal, it needs to be one of those friendships where it's just like, it's just a friendship, but have you know the kind of talking about where it's almost like
yeah,
those
but even
guys'
then, that's a
friendships
bit of
where
a
they're just
stretch.
kinda,
You see, as a member of the male species, you have to be careful.
Yeah, you have to, like,
you already have to
even
be careful.
with that kind of because I'm talking about
so
the kind
for
of
him
friendships
to, I know what you're talking about, but for him to be like just purposely,
no, he was just like, oh yeah, this and that, and then shockingly enough, and this is the funny part that I found about it, she ended up just quietly talking to HR about it, and then this dude got the perfect, in my opinion, punishment. So they took him, they let him finish his shift, and they took him in the back, and they proceeded to pull him off into a side room in a different store, not even in ours.
Oh.
And basically 3 women from HR, like scary women, started to come out of basically all came out in the room and started screaming at him. No breaks for 3 hours straight. Like, one would take turns. And I was just like, you know what? Congratulations.
That is an appropriate...
You play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Oh, my goodness.
On the bright side, it worked.
As long as it worked.
He learned his lesson, and you know what? That's what's important.
You can't even blame age on that, though. Earlier you said it's just because you can't blame age.
I don't blame age, but I also
there's a certain level of human decency that you just have built in. Well, and some people don't have that, hence the lack of common sense.
I know I said age earlier. I don't necessarily blame age. My point with that is, though, I almost give an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old example more of a pass than I do like a 24-year-old, because while it's still very wrong, they're still in that stupid stage, in my opinion.
I'll agree with that to an extent.
There is an extent where I'm wrong, but it's just like
to a degree. I'll agree with that because there's.
I'm not saying it's right.
There's
an
extent of teenagers. You're not thinking straight already, but usually if that's not confronted,
you're thinking with your head, but not your head.
Understood.
Yeah, it's just like it is what it is.
Let's see. I don't know if I really have. The closest thing I have to a common sense story is one time at work. With the catering company, there was just a guy who was just on his phone all day. And
That's funny.
I mean, I guess that's
I remember
technically
this story.
common sense. I could tell the story if you want.
No, I remember the story. It's a pretty good one. It's
Okay.
Well, the common sense here should be that you don't get on your phone when you're supposed to be getting, especially when you're collecting a paycheck for doing what
When you're on the clock, don't
Yeah.
be on your phone.
It's like if anybody gets mad at you for this, it's your own fault. Like,
I can,
yeah.
You know what? I'll tell the story. Why not? So, once upon a time, I was working, and when I was working, no. So anyway, this was one of our long days. This was an 18-hour day.
Charlie. Anyway.
Okay, no. It was, let me correct myself. It was 17 and a half hours. Oh man, I rounded up. Anyway. Ooh, I know. Someone
That's
got
the
mad at me for
spookiest
that one
thing about
time. I
this
was like,
episode.
how can you get mad at me for rounding up 30 minutes and saying it was a... Anyway. So, this kid, it was his first time working with us. So it's not like it's just someone who's sick of it. Literally, it was his first time working with us. And we met him from like one of the teen conferences we worked, and he was what was support staff to the actual staff.
Okay,
They
so he
basically
wasn't
did
like
all-
the usual there.
Yeah, I think I
Okay.
explained this in a previous episode, that the support staff was basically the staff, but they did the stuff no one else wanted to do. So that was support staff. But anyway, this kid was support staff, and we were just like, hey, we really need just, bodies on the job. So, like, come help and you'll get paid. Okay, cool, I'll get paid, yeah. This kid was my shadow the entire day. I've never been so annoyed by someone.
I've never wanted to get rid of my shadow. Have you ever seen the Peter Pan thing? Where
Yes.
he just like rips his shadow off. of him?
Yes, that's what I wanted to
They
do.
can take this kid, throw him in the dumpster, just be like, I'm tired of you.
Well, in this catering job, it was I'm gonna I'm gonna say that the dumpster comment took a second to register.
Start beating him in there.
Officer, what's happening, sir? Oh, nothing. Help me, please. Nothing's happening. Okay.
Don't worry, it's just nothing in there. It's just a chicken.
Why are you beating your chicken in the dumpster? Oh God.
Maybe.
Oh God. I
something
didn't
else
think
anyway.
that one through. Anyway,
ahead.
back to the story. We're gonna have to cut that too. So back to the story. This kid. Another thing about this catering job, and any like it, and you
Meat.
can
You're
probably
beating
get
your
this.
meat.
What you guys could not see was I was staring right into Colton's face, and he looked like he was about to explode because he wanted to say something so bad. And suddenly, meat! You're beating your... Oh, so that's the magic that we just saw.
We're gonna have to cut that section.
Yeah. Anyway. So let's get away from troubling matters. So this kid, one of the things about these catering jobs is it's a lot of repetitive work. It's not necessarily a lot of work, but a lot of repetitive work. So it's, hey, put these rolls on a pan. Well, you're doing that for 500 people, so you're there for a little while just laying out rolls. So we would tell them like, hey, like, put rolls on a pan. It'd be 40 to a tray, and he would do one tray and then like go stand on his phone, and it's like, hey, the job's not done. Like, you still have like 10 more trays to make. And he kept doing that until we would literally have to watch this kid, and the second he finished a tray, it'd be, okay, another one, okay, this is the last one, and we had to literally guide him through every single step. Well, this went on the entire day.
I hate that stuff whenever it's just like, oh yeah, what do? You do your job, now do it. I don't want to have to keep telling you, house to truck, truck to house, get it done.
Oh, that's a good story.
We've already
told that one.
Yeah, we've told that one before.
If you remember that story, you're cool, and if you're not, then anyway. So, I remember this so vividly. I was so angry. 16 and a half hours into this day, we were in the back washing dishes. There was 4 of us. Me, 2 of my friends who knew how to actually work and this new kid. Well, new kid was like, he wasn't even pretending to work anymore. He was just standing around on his phone. And here's the thing. It was a small dish room, and we had so much stuff. And
I
so
hate
that
people that do that too, 'cause
here's
it,
the
like,
thing.
it
We had no
piles
room.
up.
It piles up,
Yeah.
and we had no room. Now, here's the thing. The three of us had a beautiful system going. The cog that was messed up in
Yeah,
the
I
system
mean-
was this kid that was sitting on his phone. Well, here's the thing that made
Because
it
if
so
nobody's
bad.
washing dishes, it piles up and then it just gets nasty in there, and you're creating more work later.
Well, here's the
the
thing that
entire
made
staff.
it bad. I would move him. I wouldn't move him, but I would be like,
I would
dude,
physically pick him up and move him.
no, that's coming
somewhere
later.
else.
That's coming later. So, I would tell him, like, dude, move, you're in our way. And at this point, like, I'm short again. It's like 16 and a half hours in. I'm short with this guy. I'm like, dude, move, you're in my way. And then he would move directly into the next place I needed to be. And so in the span of like a minute, and I mean, this would continue, but every minute it'd be like me like 6 times telling him, dude, move, you're in my way. And I'm not exaggerating. It literally was that much. Because it was such a small space, it just happened to be. And at one point, he tried to just park right in the middle of the space. And wait, you know where we've been? You know that time?
Yeah, I know you're talking
Okay,
about.
you know-
Yeah, you have
okay.
the kitchen and then you have the doors going out to the main.
Okay, yeah,
dining
you
hall,
remember? Yeah. So,
And then there's not a lot of room to move around. You only have like the 3 little walkways inside the kitchen.
oh no!
Yeah.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about where the dishwasher is in the very back. You know how small that is. Now imagine that full of speed racks trying to dry trays.
See, that's the point where you tell them just to go home, though. You don't. Sit
Well,
there
here's
and keep
what I
dealing
did.
with them. You just like, look, go home.
This is what I did. Basically.
Yeah.
I told him, I was like, look, dude, go back up to my brother who's head of the company. I said, go up to him and ask for something to do because you were just in my way. I'm sick of it. We're trying to get this job done. You are not helping. Leave. So he waddles up there, takes his time, and about 2 minutes later, he comes waddling back and he stands there and he pulls his phone back out. I'm like, what are you doing back here? I literally grab this kid by the arm, like sling him back into the kitchen, and I take him back to my brother and I said, look, he is not coming back here again. He is just in my way, and if he does not leave, I will like kick him out of this entire place and he won't get paid. And I'm like basically cussing this kid out at this point. And it's to his face too. So the fact, and
Yeah.
I'm not behind this kid's back saying this. It is literally to his face. He is being a worthless piece of trash. It's time for him to leave. Find something for him
This
to
kid
do.
wouldn't know how to work if it bit him in the face. This kid wouldn't know a job if he started flipping burgers at McDonald's.
Yeah, seriously.
Anyway.
So, to be, this kid did not talk to me much the rest of the night. If I mean, but that's my common sense. He did not come back there, and I don't know if my brother had him do anything after that.
Probably didn't, honestly, knowing. He probably just sat him down and was like, look, you're getting paid for the work you've actually done. Go home. I wouldn't have paid him. Honestly, if you're just going to sit there on your phone, I would have told you to go home.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember we had to do that to a few people with the moving company. If you were caught on your phone, you just didn't get paid. You're off the job site that day and you're going home.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking your stuff and you're leaving.
Yeah. Now here's the thing. We have no problem with a break. We have no problem with pulling
That's
out your
not a
phone.
break, though. That's just not, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It's work until the food's made, and then you might get like somewhere in between an hour to like 2 to 3 to just chill, where it's like there's not much going on because we're just waiting.
You're
on
waiting
food
on
to
people.
cook.
Well, you're also catering, and you're waiting on people to eat. You're waiting on food to come back.
There is a lot of waiting happening.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
mean-
not like you're not getting a break. You're not working for these 16, 17, 18 hours straight.
It is hard being there for that long, but yeah, you're not there just working straight. The problem is when it's time to work, you got to learn how to put down the phone and keep going.
Yep.
And it's just you can't just sit there and do that though.
Mm-hmm. I will say, now that I've told this story real quick, there was one time that I thought all the work was done, and there was just a handful of small things to do that I just didn't think about. So I just kind of chilled, pulled out my phone. I sat down. I was chilling. I'm like, okay, we have about an hour until stuff really needs to start moving, like food-wise. So one of them came back in and was like, why are you on your phone? Like, there's this, and this, and this, and this. And I'm like, oh, that was all small stuff I thought had that needed to wait. No, we need to do them now, blah, blah, blah. So there was a time that I had that.
Yeah, that's an honest mistake, though. You're not, like, purposely just like, I'm not going to work.
I know. That wasn't in the middle of, like, 500 rolls need to be panned up. I'm going to do 40 and then
Yeah,
go
you're
stand
not
to
sitting
the
there,
side.
like, you're not hindering major progress. Like you said, it's just small stuff.
Yeah, it
It's
was
like-
stuff that I knocked out in, like, 15 minutes.
It's stuff it's like it needs to get done, but it's not, you're not ruining the entire event that's getting paid for by it being a little bit
Well,
late.
here's another thing I don't get.
Yeah.
That was really embarrassing, too, because I'm like, man, I should have at least thought of this
Yeah.
stuff. Like, I should, or not thought of it. It's like, I should have gone ahead. There was no reason for me to wait, necessarily.
Well, because you were
but-
also one of, like, the managers, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
For the most part, you were.
Well,
I mean,
at one point, my brother told me, like, hey, you should train these people on how to use a dishwasher. And
Yeah.
it's a conveyor dishwasher, so I'm just like, the only thing that you really need to be trained on is just, like, know how to put the stuff on the racks and send it through so it doesn't fall off. That's really about it. And I'm like, here's... And Mark was like, show the... Oh, I've been trying not to say his name. Mark was like, hey, just show him how to use the water hose. Show him how to clean everything off. I'm like, here, hose. Press to spray. It go whoosh. It
Go
knock-
whoosh.
It knock food into sink with garbage disposal.
I guess you could say whenever they put the soap on it, it really dawns on them.
Get out.
Okay. Okay.
No, I will say, Dawn is magic. It really is.
It is.
With we survived off of Dawn. It is
Dude,
amazing.
We're not sponsored by Dawn, but we could be.
Anyway, do you have any more? That was my one real story.
I don't have anything else to really talk about or add to this, honestly. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for today. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for accepting the moments with us. I've been your host, Colton.
And I've been your host, Josh, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Goodbye!
Goodbye! Oh.